thank you so much for listening to another episode of CX Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Brady-Cesana. All right, guys, so super excited. Tomas, welcome to the CX Chronicles studio booth here, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
So, guys, Tomas is from an awesome company here at CCW in Las Vegas at Caesar Forum called Klearcom. And we're super pumped because, number one, we're going to get the whole story about what you guys are doing at Klearcom. But more importantly, Tomas, you and I are going to talk about what you're trying to do here, which is, as Tomas runs global sales at Klearcom, what types of things you're trying to learn, what type of people you're trying to connect with. So I'm pumped to get an interview. But before we get into all that fun stuff, why don't you introduce yourself to the CX Nation, tell people who you are, and let's give people a little bit of high level of who you guys are at Klearcom and what the awesome solution and team are that you guys are building today.
Yeah, so my name is Tomas Piacek. I head up the global sales in Klearcom, and essentially we help companies globally to test their speech voice bot IVRs, essentially, locally in country, but we can do this internationally across 100 countries worldwide.
Love it. And now I can hear it from your voice, but tell people where you guys are coming from.
Originally in Slovakia, but live in Ireland for the last 20 years.
Absolutely. So we've got some of our Irish friends here, and Klearcom is an incredible company that is based out of Ireland. But let's start with Klearcom. So just spend a minute or two on the story of, number one, how long have you been with Klearcom and how long have you been helping to build the business?
Yeah, it's over 5 years now with Klearcom. Okay. So yeah, it's a pretty exciting journey, I have to say, especially where we are and where the company is going and how we do things, I suppose, differently as well compared to, the market itself.
Have you always been in this space, or before Klearcom, were you in a different industry that led to this whole where we're at with customer contact and customer experience and all this stuff, or was this a space that you've been intimately involved with for a while?
No, I've been in the space for the last 15 years actually. Okay. So I love the space, and it's just ever changing, especially when you talk about the legacy platforms and everyone moving to the cloud.
Absolutely.
CCaaS, and so it's exciting then how that automation can help, and then the human touch, is that still required or not?
Yeah.
And then so
it's funny. Everybody here is talking about AI, and as we should be. It's obviously a game changer, and it's going to disrupt the entire world, the entire universe. We're not silly, we know that, but you're right, Thomas. Like, end of the day, AI. In the near term, it's still human beings that got to take things the last mile. Yeah. It's still human beings that got to make other human beings see or want or need or want to go buy any type of product or service. So it's interesting, and this is a cool event because you're seeing there's so many solutions providers. Yeah. There's so many service providers. There's so many different things going on here that it can almost be overwhelming. But that's kind of the fun of CCW is we have almost the whole world's customer contact center universe under the Season 4 roof today. So it's kind of nice to be able to make it easier to learn.
Exciting.
It's exciting. Let's start off with what was one of the biggest things that, I know we're going to meet Michael later in the interview, but what was one of the biggest things that you and Michael and the Klearcom team were really, really excited to be able to, number one, just big goals that you were coming here to Las Vegas all the way from Dublin, all the way from Ireland, or just north of Dublin. Yeah. But what were some of the big things you guys were really eager and excited to kind of tackle when you got here to Vegas with CCW?
Look, most importantly is to meet customers as well, because meeting face to face is always different than meeting someone over the conference online, right? So meeting the guys face to face and the catch up is always great, right? Yep. And then obviously as well to meet other potential customers as well and meet them in person. Yep. And they see who is behind as well, for example, the email reach out or the conference itself. So that's another thing. But also, look at what the industry, how it's going, the contact center side of things, from the Genesis, talk desk, whatever, and how do we help? How do we come on board or combat that as well, or we're combined together. Big time, basically. So
because that's right. Because there's number one, it's funny. Wait, let me ask you, how is this Klearcom's first CCW? Have you guys been to many CCWs?
No,
before?
We've been here a good few times. Yeah,
and it's funny because number one, you do, I think, one of the biggest gains. I don't care if you've been to 10 of these things or if this is your first one. It is the learning and it is the crash course. Yeah. In all the different solutions and possibilities that are out there in the world. But what you just said, Tom, it also makes me think about is also seeing how other providers are positioning things, how other providers are storytelling, how other providers or potential partners are just displaying the things that they might be able to do for your business. It gives you ideas, and it allows you to go back to home base and kind of build on it.
It's basically the puzzle. You might have the migration. Someone says that we are migrating over.
Yep.
And then the decision or the evaluation, they go, and then how do we come in basically as well, that puzzle in the whole place basically, and how do we connect all those dots?
Absolutely.
And then basically you explain that in person to someone like this, like I think in CCW is brilliant. Because people then understand where do we step in.
Yep.
Basically even to speed up the migration and ensuring that it's efficient and it's smooth and there's no minimum impact on the end users.
Absolutely.
And so on. So
question, do you have a number of customers that are here too? Are you guys also using CCW and using this event to be able to understand what types of strategic partners might be valuable in the future? And then team, how many, out of curiosity, how many teammates did you bring, and how did you guys kind of divide the pitch in terms of I know that you're looking for customers, you're looking for new possibilities, new leads. Michael might be thinking about how other people are doing customer success, or how they're managing retention, or how they're managing their customer experience. But how did you guys decide to kind of slice the team up onto the pitch, and who's kind of tackling which areas here at the event?
Can you repeat that? So many questions there.
No, I have a tendency to speak fast, and I lived in New York City too long, man. But how did you guys sort of strategically decide how to divide and conquer all the things that you wanted to accomplish while you were in Vegas and here at CCW?
Yeah, look, I suppose it's divide is, it's meeting the customers, who is the new, and then whoever we meet next, basically. And it's basically how do we position or plan the conversations as well, right? But as you mentioned as well, from the US perspective, like the channel, the partnerships are key, basically, and also having that in place here on the ground as well helps us to basically to pitch or introduce the technology to potential new customers and so on. So these partners or channel partners that we have here that we meet as well is key as well for the growth.
Boots on the ground. They understand the American side, the stateside market. They understand the stateside problems, needs, what types of customers might be super interested in Klearcom.
And we love to connect with the US people here as well, because I think there is synergies between US and Ireland a lot.
Big time.
And that makes a difference as well. They understand. You guys understand our culture and the way we are.
1,000%.
And that makes the things much easier,
time.
Because we're genuinely people that care about people on the other side. It's not just about the business, So
100%. I wish that we were connected before we were in Dublin, as I told you, and Michael and Ian and the rest of the team at Klearcom. We were in Dublin just a few months ago for SaaStock back in October, November. I wish we would have been able to get together there, but I, number one, absolutely loved every one of my Irish friends that we met there, because you're right, culturally there's a ton of similarities. Number two, the amount of business and the amount of stateside business, and you know this, you've seen Dublin. I think when I was, little side story, when I was sitting at St. James Gate enjoying my pint at the very top of the Guinness Brewery in Dublin, I counted 20 cranes up and over Dublin. Meaning cranes literally building development in Dublin. A ton of that is American stateside businesses that are obviously thrilled to be inside of Dublin. There's a lot of benefits, a lot of perks but it's making this incredible culture there of technology and software and just general business. There's banks, so really, really cool to kind of see our two worlds kind of coming together closer and the growth and the development.
And I tell you, we are from Waterford. That's where our HQ is in Ireland, and it's the oldest city in Ireland.
What did you say? It's about 1 hour north of Dublin? 1 or 2 hours north of Dublin?
2 hours.
2 hours north of Dublin.
So, but it's great that we are based in the oldest city in Ireland, but bringing really new tech as innovation. So there's a nice, mix to it, basically, coming from the oldest city in Ireland, but bringing the tech
which is
innovation.
Sweet. Which is really a renaissance happening all across the world. It's even Buffalo, like a city like Buffalo, New York. Dude, we've had 3 unicorns in the last 10 years. Buffalo. We went 5 decades without any economic business development growth. And then in the last 10 years, because of the beauty and the simplicity or the beauty of building a company in today's world, where everything's going to go to the cloud, your customers are going to all be online anyway. You can get brilliant teammates from all across the planet as long as they're fitting certain molds for what you need. Talk a little bit about the Klearcom team. So you're heading up sales. You're looking at all the new potential customers or all the new potential users that might be interested in Klearcom. Thomas, how did you kind of think about building out your sales team, and then spend maybe a minute talking about sort of how you've kind of built or driven the whole go-to-market motion for Klearcom?
Yeah. There's a defined sales process or strategy essentially that we have in place. So it comes from, someone comes in as new, there's a certain process or training they need to follow, essentially. So we have it down to literally to detail, who is the target persona, who do we target as a company, industry.
Like a sales playbook.
Exactly. How do you approach people, and so on. How do you approach different people across different, let's say, markets as well. So because US, Europe or India, LATAM region is completely different.
Different things.
But we go to such a detail, how do you approach someone, let's say, even in Europe? Do they prefer phone call? Do they prefer, SMS even, or WhatsApp is huge. So, but every single person is brought to through this process that we have in place and ensure that they understand that. And as soon as they understand the basics of the fundamentals, then from there they're ready to go. But that process that we have in place is so good in terms of that, because that person is up to speed literally in a space of 2 weeks.
That's fantastic. So inside of 30 days.
Yeah.
So then you're able to not only get your crash course, learn everything about Klearcom, understand the market, understand the needs and the pains of the ICP or the users that we really want to go after. And then a couple of weeks later, you're literally jumping right into the work. You're doing the activities, you're doing the calls, you're having conversations about Klearcom, you're probably learning how to use better. Is this the team that you've had to build out of Klearcom? Is this the first time that you've had to build out like a global sales team from scratch? Have you done this before at other places?
No,
Was it? And then what I was going to say is, was the playbook for Klearcom any different than maybe some past businesses or past companies that you had to build a team from scratch on the sales side?
No, I suppose the sales process is always the same, but I suppose I've done it in Salesforce before. I've designed that across the Eastern US.
In Ireland?
In Ireland, but I was across EMEA for Salesforce, basically. So I brought it from a software company before. So I suppose that the concept is exactly the same. You always just need to tweak it based on the product or the personas that you target, or and so on. So, but the process, how do you approach someone, and all that is needs to be consistent at all times. So. But then it needs to click with that person to understand. How do you do that? Because even if you're based in Europe or in the US, you need to kind of think about, do you approach it at 9 a.m. Pacific time, or is it later? When do you make those phone calls? When do you do those emails? Is it a simple reply to an email, or is it a forward? For I want to see that email at the top of their inbox, or is it phone call and phone call again? So, that's the process we have such a defined. But someone needs to really understand that, and it needs to click with that person to really understand that approach. And then of course to be personable. Build a rapport with someone. And someone needs to kind of understand and that you're a genuine person that's trying to help. Because without that, you're just another.
You're cooked.
Yeah, exactly.
It's another salesperson.
Exactly.
It's funny. My joke about AI, and of course it's going to change the world. It's going to change the world that we're in, and all of us are here at CCW. But Thomas, you bang on, man. Which is like, at the end of the day, people still will always want to do business with other people that they like, that they find value from, that they enjoy spending time with, that they learn something. It's really about finding or building to a strategic partnership. Sales is about to get a lot harder, guys. So some of the days of some of the transactional whiz-bang stuff, that's gonna go away. It's really about finding partnerships. Right? People are going to do business with people that they view as partners or strategic partners. And then those are going to be the businesses or the relationships that people will want to invest in. And those are going to be, frankly, the businesses where you achieve that partnership. That's where retention, and we'll get into it with Michael when he gets over here, but that's where retention becomes easier. That's where your NPS, your CSAT, the way that a customer thinks about your brand, or how great they are, or how not great, it's all going to come from that stuff, man. So Thomas, couple things. As far as, so we're going to come, and guys, you're going to see this in the episode from CCW, but I guess we'll come over to the booth, and we're going to spend some time with you guys at the booth. But what are like the 2 or 3 things you keep hearing again? Because you've been in the floor all day. So I pulled Thomas over here. He's the poor guy's been dealing with one after the next at the Klearcom booth. But what are is there like 2 or 3 trending questions or trending topics or trending discussion points that you've been hearing from being on the floor all day, or like yammering or buzz that you keep hearing people talking about in there that relates to kind of Klearcom and makes you guys kind of excited about what you guys offer and what your solution does?
Yeah. I suppose, as we touched on the migrations, from old legacy platforms to the cloud, and people keep asking, how can I manage that? And especially if you're doing this on a global scale.
It's got to be ridiculous.
Yeah. So, stress kicks in, how that is done as well, and how can you do it, without automation, and how the automation will help. And they want to people want to understand how would that help? How that will prove the value, to the company and the business as well, to understand that we need something in place, not after the migration, but also before that.
Definitely.
Basically.
Before you get to a migration, there is so much mapping and planning and validation and verification that takes place to even be able to have a successful migration. I mean, and that continues on too, by the way. As you get through the migration, then you still need implementation support, you need training and utilization support, you need people to feel comfortable with how to understand how to use the new tool in front of them.
I suppose then as well you have the conversational IVRs, as well nowadays everyone moving away from DTMF, where you have to press while you're calling. Right,
so you got sick of people like me jamming on those buttons.
That's it. So, but the conversation IVR, now why we are prompted to say why you're calling, but that's where as well things become problematic as well.
Accents, different ways of speaking.
Exactly.
Different tone. Even with this stuff, man, like some people's voices literally show up differently electronically.
Exactly.
Some people can project it, some people have quieter voice, some people's accents are stronger, some people you're right, that's all factors into this technology.
And then we step in, to where people can actually create these different personas through our platform and test that locally in country, so creating male persona, female, speaking fast, slow, and adding actually a background noise to that as well, where you replicate you're somewhere on the street as well, right? And is that IVA recognizing that in country? And then that's where issues happens as well, where it's not recognized and call get dropped, or you're played in the loop again. That can be frustrating.
That's the most infuriating thing for most customers.
But even in yourself, you're calling about issue with your laptop. You say laptop, I say notebook.
Wait, do we want to talk about laptop problems today?
No? Probably not today.
We'll tell you guys later.
But you say notebook, I say laptop. Right? But is that IVA trained to understand that, right? And that's what these companies need to understand. Whatever is those different scenarios that the way customers talk about things when they're calling, right? But because if it's not working, then that's putting the pressure on, the company itself.
100%.
Right? So, and that's where the testing steps in. That where they need to test is locally in country through fixed line mobile. Is that really working, or do we see different experiences essentially? And as well different markets as well. Different infrastructure and so on is more problematic. But again, testing, automation is the key to, to speed up and being efficient and make sure that's minimizing the impact.
100%. Peter, this has been, or Thomas, this has been absolutely fantastic. What you just said made me remember, we had one of our friends, Peter Nielsen from Microsoft, drop by earlier. What you just said, what it made me think about, Peter was telling us, Microsoft, for example, they literally just had, this was a few weeks ago, they were telling us, they had to deal with some big issue in Switzerland. Literally the Microsoft numbers for Switzerland got turned off. And then there was a big to-do and a big swarm to figure out why the hell is a country of our business number. And you guys, this is things that on the contact center land, unless you understand the granularities and stuff, people don't think about what is really happening behind the scenes, behind the maps, to be able to drive a global communication system for a global company. Thomas, it's been fantastic. Before I let you go, my friend, two things. Number one, where can people find you and Michael and the team at the Klearcom booth here at CCW? And then where can people that are watching this this interview and watching some of the CC content from CCW, where can people get in touch with you and your sales team if they want to learn more about what you all are building at Klearcom today? Look, it's our website, Klearcom.com, for example, or just get in touch through sales at Klearcom.com as well, or they can just reach out to me directly as well. Fantastic. For conversation. Awesome. Tom, this has been an absolute pleasure, brother. I'm so happy that you were able to come by, and best of luck with the rest of the event. This is going to be great, and super excited to see what you guys do at Klearcom moving forward in the future. Appreciate it. Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys. So super excited. Part 2 of our Klearcom interview here, guys. So we've already met Thomas from Klearcom. Michael, say hello to the CX Nation, my friend. Hi, guys. How you doing? So we figured we started our Klearcom segment. Number one, we started to talk with the sales leader. Michael, tell the CX Nation what you're doing today. Tell me your role. Give me a brief introduction for what you're doing.
Yeah, I believe you spoke to Tomas before. So basically, I work more with our customers direct, and when we bring them in and when we're onboarding the customers, the experience that they have. That's what I can talk about today, and how we help those customers, get through a lot of the pain points that they have before they come to Klearcom.
I love it. I figured first part of our interview, guys, you heard Tomas talking about how he and his global sales team, how they think about attracting awareness, attention, consideration, all that upper funnel stuff that our sales and our marketing friends like to think about. You're actually dealing with, let's call it what it is, the hard part of now you got a customer. How do you onboard them?
Yeah.
How do you retain them? How do you make sure that they start utilizing Klearcom to the best of their... So anyway, this is going to be fun to kind of get into, but why don't you start off just, number one, how did you get into the space? Before Klearcom, what was some of the stuff? Have you been in the industry for a long time? Is this a space you've been a part of for a long time?
I've been in the industry for, I'd say in total around 6 years. Before that, I would have worked in a totally different industry in banking for a lot of years, so very boring. But, so I moved into the exciting world of telecommunications instead. So, But it's I suppose from that point of view, you see with banking, it can be quite a slow-moving industry.
Right.
But you're seeing here today, CCW, and you see it all the time with different advancements. Technology is changing so quickly. So, I suppose from us, or from our perspective, Klearcom is going now 8 years at this stage, and we have, I suppose, an advantage in that we're coming to the market and we're able to grow, with that market.
Love it.
So we're not coming from a point that, there's a solution in place, everybody's used to that solution, and you just continue on with that.
Absolutely.
We're coming in, we're effectively disruptors in the market.
Love it. Talk about your team at Klearcom. Spend a minute or two just kind of talking about you're dealing with all the live customer accounts, you're dealing with all of these different things where people need support. Spend a minute or two kind of talking about how you sort of had to build your customer success team and some of the things that you guys are doing on a daily and a weekly and a monthly basis to make sure that the trains are on the track.
Absolutely, I suppose the first thing is, and in fairness, the sales guys do have a difficult
no offense
job.
to our sales guys, come on. Sales is one of the hardest parts of the game, guys. We all know that.
Exactly, but I suppose, we bring the customers on board then, we do a full onboarding with them. So with Klearcom, I suppose the key thing is there's no additional, it's kind of a frictionless experience for the customer, because when they come on board, if they've moved from a different vendor, or even if they're new to testing and they're just coming on board as a net new, fresh customer, well, for us from an onboarding side of things, because all of our testing is non-intrusive, it's a very quick setup, it's a very easy setup. So say for instance, if they look to put their, if they had global numbers, or if they had, say, US numbers, they might have, toll-free numbers, DID numbers, IVRs, they can literally give us those numbers. We'll actually go off, we'll do a health check on those numbers, and then we'll go off and we'll discover what's behind those numbers. So crawl down through the IVR and then place that into, automated testing, regression testing. So because it's completely non-intrusive, and because it's so quick, there's no, you've probably heard the P words already today. So ports, we basically use ports obviously as well. We open up all of our ports for testing. And what that means is that from our perspective, and also the customer, when we do that initial, say for instance, crawling through the IVR, that discovery phase, it's so quick for my team to do it. So if we're doing it on behalf of the customer, it's so quick. But if the customer is doing it, they can do it so quickly as well. So if they have, say for instance, a team, a lot of our customers would have, even some of the biggest companies might have a relatively small team, but they could still be 10, 20 people, and they could be global. Because we're opening all of our ports for testing, it means that you can go and you can do whatever you need to do on the platform at the same time. So you're not limited to, Adrian is using this port for, building out an IVR, and then Michael is over here, he wants to do automated testing, so he has to stop this to do that. So it's, I suppose, from our perspective, and when we bring on customers, I suppose it's an education piece. It's like a lot of the companies that are here today that, they're telling people and they're showing people that there's different ways and there's better ways of doing things. And I suppose that's what we do in Klearcom, and I suppose our customers, love what we do. So it makes my job a little bit easier in that regard. And then what we also have to lean on is our 24/7, 365 testing support team.
Yep.
Adrian, this is huge.
Okay.
Nobody else does this in the market.
Nobody does it?
Nobody.
Because this sounds, you talk about it because you're professional, because you deal with it every day, as these are relatively simple things. For our non-technical viewers, this stuff's not simple, brother. This is difficult, it's hard.
Exactly.
It's laborious.
Yeah.
There's a lot of testing, there's a lot of, almost like, when you talk about ports, literally there's a lot of port identification of pulling things out and plugging it back in, and then, did that work? Okay, that works, okay.
Exactly.
This is a complex thing, so like, to be able that, for some of the businesses that are here that don't have any care or concern, but they know they need it, to have a partner that can do that for them, and then be available 365,
it's huge.
Game changer.
So basically, if I was to give you an example, say for instance, we had a customer actually, better not say who they were, but he was a big mountain bike enthusiast. He said before he used Klearcom, he used to be getting kind of pings to his cell phone, going, had to get off the bike, he had to look at the thing, and he had to go ring the team and go, we have an issue with whatever. They'd go and they test and they go, no, we don't have an issue. So the key thing is, and it sounds quite simple, but it's just huge, and this is why it does make our team's life a little bit easier, because they do that triage process for the customer. It means that every single alert that goes out to a Klearcom customer merits attention.
Awesome.
They need to scramble the jets. They need to take action straight away.
They know Klearcom's already on it.
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of like it's like a rubber stamp for us, because the customer knows, and they get a really good. Like, we met, obviously a few customers here today, and like they just love it, because, like that example that I said to you there, when they get that alert through, he goes, I need to do something. It's not. I might have to do something.
Noise. It's actually
cutting through the noise.
This is real. There's something that needs to get done right now. And then they can leverage and they utilize the support from Klearcom on top of it.
And they can get that down through, the likes of ServiceNow, PagerDuty, any of the major ticketing systems if you want to get those alerts. So,
expand on that. Talk about that a little bit more.
So say for instance, people will use ServiceNow for their ticketing systems. They'll get their alerts from, different kind of network testing tools maybe as well. But with Klearcom, we also have an API integration that can, integrate with those major ticketing systems.
So also with Zendesk and Freshworks and something?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Any of the major ticketing systems. Key thing is as well, what we can do is we can segregate the two issues that we would see. We see obviously a lot of different issues, but I suppose the two main issues is maybe the number not connecting. Okay, so there could be a team that looks after that particular thing. And just if a call fails to connect, they want the alerts to go to that team. They don't want to get like an alert that says, oh, the messaging is wrong on this node. Right. Like, I can't do anything with that. So we can segregate those alerts and send them to the different teams as well. So it just means, again, cutting out the noise, Adrian. You said it.
What are like the primary client project champions that you're dealing with? What type of roles are the men and women that on your customers? What are some of like the roles? What are the common roles or the common types of people that you guys are interfacing? Or when you talked about your friend with the mountain bike, our mountain bike friend, give our listeners like a sense of who are these people in an organization? What type of roles, what type of jobs do they have that they're the ones that are responsible for thinking about this stuff?
So it ranges from like your senior telecommunications engineer, your global telecoms manager, your IVR engineer, your QA, automation tests engineer, and then right down through, like it could be your head of customer service, that kind of thing. So it could be, or head of contact center technology, that kind of thing. So I suppose it's like diverse titles, and as we're seeing here today, sometimes I'm looking at people's badges and I'm kind of going, well, I'm not sure, and they're going, this is what I do, and so
because a lot of these businesses, depending upon different industries and verticals that apply to our space inside those doors, you get a lot of different title names, you get a lot of different types of role. Companies call similar things different stuff all the time. Part of their internal vernacular and the way that they want to call stuff or label stuff, but like
it would make Tom's life a lot easier if we were just like
just a handful of options.
If it said future Klearcom customer, that would be the best.
That would be the best, the easiest. Michael, spend a little bit of time talking about like Okay, customer success. For our friends that aren't in customer success, they don't realize this is the hardest part of the game. Just kidding, not really. It is. But I guess with you, what have been some things that you've been hearing on the floor today? Because you and Tomas have been at it bright and early with all of us today. We had a bunch of awesome action here today, but like, are there common things that you're hearing from some of the actual customer success leaders that you've had the opportunity to talk with today that you've been surprised about, or are there things that you keep hearing them say again and again and again where you're like, oh, I'm not surprised now because you're the fourth person I've talked to today that said, like, what are you kind of hearing on the customer success side?
It still surprises you in some ways because, like, we're hearing obviously a lot about AI.
AI is, what's AI
I'm
again?
not sure what it is.
What is it again? What is it? Can we get a note on what
But I suppose it kind of plays into our hands a little bit in that, or a lot, because we're future-proof in that regard. So we test both speech-based and DTMF-based, or touch-tone IVRs. So we're future-proof from that perspective. And what I'm hearing today in that regard is the likes of, say, for instance, if there's an IVA or an IVR that it's asking a customer, can you, tell me why you're calling today?
Yep.
And they say, I'm calling, I need to speak to somebody about my stolen credit card.
Yep.
Okay, so if we're the customer now, and we ring up, and we, have that interaction, that needs to work.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So you can't test everything. You can't test, go through the whole encyclopedia of, what somebody would say.
Sure.
But something critical like that, or a clinical trial number. Somebody does through, and they say, I'm having an adverse reaction. Okay, you need to be able to. So your voice bot needs to be able to pick up on those, critical verbiage that's coming through.
Critical, like compliance-oriented primarily?
Yeah.
So healthcare, banking, that type of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just not even that, because that's critical, but also it's brand. It can be, I suppose, brand damaging.
Yeah.
That, say for instance, if you ring through and it's a technology company.
Yep.
And say a really well-known technology company.
Yep.
And you go through and you're having a poor experience.
Yep.
At that, what way does it reflect on the brand? So I suppose that's why these kind of companies would use us to ensure that, they're getting ahead of any issues like that, and that they're able to test, retest, regression, do it in, pre-production, push it live, and then do ongoing monitoring as well.
That's super interesting space. And then again, I'm telling you, what I said something similar to Tomas, which is like, even for a bunch of us CX and contact center nerds that are all here in Vegas right now, rocking out on this stuff.
Well, we like golf, so we're not really nerds, Adrian.
Well, I'm not a nerd either. Well, don't get me wrong. We're gonna go. There's gonna be some pints drinking later. Don't worry. We're all cool here.
Yeah.
Even smart people that are in the space, they don't. Unless you're on some of this specific stuff, you don't realize how much magic is behind the scenes, or how many moving parts are actually working together to make this stuff.
Yeah.
And then it starts to make sense too when you look in some of the logos and some of the brands and some of the businesses that are inside that room right now.
Yeah.
You understand why they have the values that they have, or you understand why they generate the revenues that they do annually, because to power some of the world's biggest 1,000 companies, employee and customer communications, that's hard, man.
Yeah.
That stuff that's not easy, and you're talking about massive scale that many of our SMB friends, they can't even fathom.
I know, it's huge. And
the volume of tickets, the calls, the emails,
and
the texts.
That's why it's so rewarding as well.
Yeah.
I think for Klearcom, and that we have some of the biggest brands in the world that use us and that trust us to do this for them. So it's I suppose, makes us feel good, to be honest.
It is. It's a feel-good thing.
Yeah.
Michael, what for you is going to be a thing that makes CCW Las Vegas 2025 a grand slam? Was there one or two things that you really wanted to leave Las Vegas kind of check in a box that made both you and Tomas and the Klearcom team and the whole team back in Ireland that's going to make you guys feel like it was all worth it? It was a grand slam because of what are the one or two things you want to leave here, know that you've checked those boxes?
Well, I've met you, Adrian, and the
so
team
that's
as well.
So that's one of them.
So that's the first one. Okay,
I'll take it all damn day, baby.
But I suppose on the other side of things, it's just meeting with some really interesting people. From even different vendors.
Absolutely.
But also meeting major brands, and like you kind of said a minute or so ago, like they don't maybe know that there's solutions out there that can help them.
I know.
So I've met today, like we probably all used some of their products today, brand, and they told me like they're just manually testing their IVRs.
Wow.
And we're talking now.
So you and Tomas were excited about that conversation.
But it's actually more an eye opener because you're there going, oh wow, they didn't know that there was something out there.
Absolutely.
That's why they're here as well.
Yeah,
because they want to hear that. And then I suppose it's just great to see like the different, I suppose, as I said, vendors, people being, I think, very open.
1,000%.
Yeah, and what we're seeing as well is probably the fact that a lot of companies, probably is mostly in the US as well, they're moving from, say, on-prem contact centers like your legacy, maybe Avaya, kind of on-prem. That's extremely like great product, right? Very secure, like very stable. But then obviously there's huge advantages, can be cost savings, but more so the advantages are the flexibility of moving to the cloud. But when you move to the cloud, you lose a lot of the visibility that you had before. So I suppose people are coming to us and they're saying, okay, well I moved from, and I won't mention vendors, or sorry, not vendors, but say CCAS partners, and I go, well I moved from that, say for instance on-prem, I've moved to the cloud, I really love like our new solution, but I feel like I'm flying blind a little bit.
Quirks, the information that they need, help that they need to educate, just the experience of being able to pull all this stuff together.
Exactly. So that's been great, just to be able to, talk to people about that and tell them, well, listen, this is something that we do all the time, like, and this is what our customers, use us for all the time. So
super cool. And guys, for folks that have not been to CCW, what Michael just said is bang on. Like, this is probably the 5th time that we've been here now at CCW. Even using CX Chronicles as an example, our business has changed. Every time we come here, it changes a little bit. Because number one, you're getting this quick and dirty crash course on everything that Michael just said. You've got all these different types of walks of life here. You've got massive companies inside of there. Then you got upstarts. You got little guys like CXC. You got some of our friends that joined us a little while ago are small. They want to be at that level in the future. But what's funny is the information exchange, right? The tribal knowledge that you can glean in a place like this. And then the other thing, like, I tell you, every time I come back to CCW, there's certain things, you said it earlier about like one of the big logos that stopped by and you were surprised that they didn't know about. Guys, this is why events like this can be game changers, where you get market pulse information that you wouldn't get anywhere else. And
it's refreshing because they're willing to embrace something as well. Like,
absolutely.
They're open to having that conversation.
There's candor inside those doors because we're all here trying to learn. We're all here trying to figure out how to do this thing better, man. And we're in a game where the game and the rules are changing fast. AI has literally flipped the damn table over in the party.
Absolutely.
Right? So now everyone's trying to make sense of it. But super cool, super exciting. A couple things. Number one, awesome stuff that you guys are doing at Klearcom. Super pumped that you and Tomas were able to join CX Chronicles. Before I let you go, where can people that are watching this information, watching this content right now, if they want to learn more about you, they want to get in touch with Michael, they want to get in touch with Klearcom, where can we point them?
Okay, so our website, klearcom.com. You'll see us on all LinkedIn. Look up Klearcom, Klearcom, and obviously, you'll see us here, guys, as well. Like, if you're here and if you're at future events, we go to all different events. We'll be here next year as well. So, guys, reach out to us. We'd love to have a conversation. Sorry, I'm going to mention the P word again, but no port restrictions with Klearcom, no port limitations, okay? A team of 10 can use the whole platform at once. So please, guys, reach out and we'd love to have a conversation. And Adrian, it's been brilliant talking to you.
Absolutely.
And thanks to the team as well.
Michael, thank you so much for joining the CXC podcast, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out the CXC website. And as always, find us on any of your favorite podcast players, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and more.